Yeah.
All right, everybody. Here we are. I'm here with Elijah Selby. I'm so excited for this today. We're just going to be sharing into our respective groups. So hello, welcome.
Yeah.
Let us know, what's going on with you, where you are. Are you warm? Please tell me if you're here. Tell me you.
I'm warm. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Blessings to all of you. We're here talking about talking about race, to engaging with kids on race, and talking about the course that's coming up next Sunday. Elijah, are you sort of ready to take it away? Are you still sharing?
I'm sharing one more thing. Sorry, I just want to get it.
That's okay. Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I want to welcome in guest groups today, because this interview is going to be cast to a few places. Stand Up for Justice. Welcome. Let us know in the comments, in the live cast or in the replay, how this is landing for you. The Feminine Rising. Welcome. The Mama Mastermind. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Let us know how things are landing for you in the live cast or in the comments. We're happy to have you here. I know there's a lot of bright souls. A lot of people are super interested in these subjects and scared to engage with these subjects.
Yes. So I love that, Alexandra. Thank you. Yeah. So I love that you just said that right there. Some people that are interested, they know it's important, but they feel afraid. That is something I hear all the time.
Yes.
From people in my circles. Like the common refrain is, what if I say the wrong thing? I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yep.
So I always say, you probably will say the wrong thing. And it's okay. You just got to keep talking and learn, right?
Yes.
So, but separate from that, Alexandra, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for making this time. I'm so happy to be here in your beautiful energy. And so first, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about you and the work you do. Like, let's just get a little baseline here.
Yeah. So my name is Alexandra Loves. You can find so much more about me on alexandraloves.com. There's an S on the end of love. And basically I was born overseas in Saudi Arabia. I grew up without really associating with a race identity, knowing that my parents did, and they did everything they could to show me a race identity, but it felt so foreign. I grew up in an international community. It just was something that wasn't, I just didn't associate. Right. And then eventually I came here to the United States, went to boarding school, and was told very clearly that I had to have a race identity, and that this is what it means, this is what it doesn't mean, by people of all colors. And then went through a really long identity crisis, racial identity crisis. And, had to do a lot of trauma work around that, a lot of healing work, a lot of things are still being uprooted for me. Yeah. I'm in a much better, grounded, peaceful place now, and have been for years. But I learned a lot being on that journey. In the meantime, in my life, I work with women. I help women create the life they want by being who they are. It's a lot of transformational work, empowerment work, developing gifts. And I noticed that in the last 4 years of my work, that women I'm working with, whether it's in a class or privately, we're starting to really dig into race and race identity, and going through some of the similar things that I went through, a couple decades ago, and starting in on that journey. So I decided I should really start talking about this more in public. I already was, but I should really put it out there. And as I was developing, I decided to start a library called the Spiritual Foundations Library, where I was going to put all of my work from the last however many years in a study at home courses, right? And my idea was that I was going to put my anti-racism work from a spiritual perspective out into this library sometime in 2021. That was what my idea was. And then 2020 happened, and all of a sudden it was all of my community, everybody was just focused in, you have to start talking about that. Then George Floyd was lynched, and everybody saw that televised, all this stuff. So I was nope, it's going to be 2020. I'm going to put this stuff out. And so this is really a life work, but having the courses, I have Black mentor sessions for white people who are ready. All of that stuff are things that sort of force their way, just boom, it's here now. We have to do it this way right now. So that's kind of the evolution of how I ended up doing this leg of work in my journey. And I see Melissa's there. Hello. Thank
Hi,
you.
Melissa. Yay. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Alexandra, thank you for that. I did not know you grew up abroad, and that's like a conversation for another time, because that's just like your journey and coming to the United States and how different that was, and that, you know, you had to be racialized essentially here. And that's really fascinating. But so I'm going to bookmark that, because I think that that's really, really revealing, right? Yeah. I mean, just so, okay. So let's jump right in. So thank you for laying the foundation of that work. So the next kind of thing I would love to hear is about this Moms and Race online course. So I just want to say I am signed up for it. I signed up right away because I know for me this is so important.
Yes.
And I know it's important to so many moms that are listening to this right now. And so they probably want to know a little bit about the course, and like, let's let them know.
So the first thing I want to say, because I know a lot of people are interested in doing this work, investing in this work, finding ways that make sense to them to do this work, and quite frankly can fit into the flow of their life. Yeah. I just want to say, first of all, that this course was created, this Moms and Race online course, which starts on Sunday, is designed for people to receive. This is not a course where people are going to track you or that you have to do 1,000 different tasks. This course is designed for people to receive, to open the door. See, I fully believe that if you, at any level of where you're at, are interested, if any part of you is like, I want to do something about racism, if any part of you is like sort of ignited, activated, triggered by what's going on, it means that your spirit is asking you to pay attention, because it's asking you to take some kind of responsibility, that this is something that's important to your evolution and your growth and what you are creating. And so I believe that if that is true, then that means you have access to the wisdom that you need to do something that's aligned with your spirit.
Yes.
So you can read all the books and take all the courses and do all the trainings and everything, but until you clue in with that, then it's kind of going to fall short a little bit. There's always going to be this like push to do it. It's always going to not feel quite aligned with you, right? So the reason I designed my courses around anti-racism, I always say anti-racism from a spiritual perspective, because by spirit, I mean just from what comes from within, not necessarily a religion. And so I designed my courses, and I know I'm talking to moms here, right? Parents who are busy. The fact that we have is like, as many people as we have is like such a blessing, because I know that it is difficult to fit this into your life. So all of it is designed for you to receive and for it to just open the doors and the windows so that you can tap into your own wisdom about what to do, how to be an ally, whatever it is for you, whatever it ends up being for you. And also once you tap into that wisdom, that you will then have the confidence to navigate all the situations you find yourself in. And it will give you the foundational understanding, so that if you do go read the books, if you do sign up for other courses, because this one course does not cover everything, it can't, you should have multiple teachers, you should have multiple places of unlearning and learning, that this course will be the foundational understanding, perceptions, and tools to help you I was going to say synthesize, maybe that's not the right word, but explore all the other material that might be absent of the kind of work that we're doing that taps you in deeply.
Oh, that feels so powerful to me. And so I'm just taking in what you're saying, because, and I'm going to reflect back to you what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that this course, Moms and Race, is going to help us connect to a place inside ourselves that's like the nudge, the flame, the little calling, whether it's a bit loud or even soft, that's saying, hey, I want to do something about this. Maybe I'm afraid. Maybe I don't know where to start. Maybe I've started, but it's a lot, right? But you're going to connect us from that spirit, inner spirit place to this work and I heard you say like lay the foundation, and then it's almost like I'm hearing like, is this like a really great place to start to springboard us off? I don't know. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yes. Yes. Look,
I love that.
I teach foundations. And
Okay.
whether I'm helping people in their love lives or transition or their gifts or anti-racism, allyship, whatever it is, building their business, it's always going to be foundational skills. Like I always say, when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? Like when it comes to marketing, the same things we do now in marketing is the concepts, the foundations of what we do in marketing is the same as what the Egyptians were doing. The foundations, they're all the same. And as history repeats itself over and over again, we keep coming back to the same foundations. All the things around it might be different, but the foundations will always be the same. When you understand the foundations, learning a new platform, learning how to talk to your audience, all of that is influenced and grounded by your understanding the foundations. This is the same when we're talking about a revolution in humanity.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Chills. Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you. I'm so.
I was going to add one more thing.
Yeah, please.
Because a lot of you don't know me. I don't use guilting and shaming in my work. Yeah. I create empowering and healing places, and that's really important to mention.
So important.
There's a lot of this work where people are using guilting and shaming and bullying and goading and oppressive tactics, and I stand clear on. I don't think that we should invest in those teachers' courses or, I don't think we should invest in that. We should invest in places only if we're trying to cure oppression, if we're trying to rebalance what's going on in this world, we have to do it from the purest healing place possible. So that's important. I want to lay down for people who might be new to like how I work and how I teach.
And I think that that's so important because after all, if we want to enter a space of learning, I mean, we may not understand this consciously, but we need that space to be a safe space for us to grow and learn.
Yes.
And even a safe space for us to make mistakes. I think that feels really important. It's been important for me on my overused word, my journey around being an anti-racist and learning everything there is to learn, which, I really understand as a lifetime journey for me. So, I mean, I really appreciate that. I do think that's so important, Alexandra. It's one of the reasons why I feel like such a deep resonance with you. I do feel, and from the moment we first met, and we have a mutual friend that introduced us, and I just is like, we met over Polo, if Marco Polo, if you guys know it. And I was like, I just like love to be in your presence. Thank you. Thank you. You shine through even on the video. So I just really want to acknowledge that because I do think that's important. And I also want to reflect something back that I heard you say, which is like, if we're going to change the world, right, we need to be in a non-oppressive, like we're looking to change, to overthrow, to eradicate oppression and systemic racism. So like, we need to show up not in a place of oppression, but in the place of like how we want the world to be.
Yes. Yes, right? Audre Lorde talks about this, and this was just brought up on another interview, and it's
so cool.
I see this quote. I'm going to mess up the quote, but it'd be really easy for anybody to find. It comes out of an essay that Audre Lorde wrote. It's in full online. I think it's called The Master's Tools, or you can at least just look up Master's Tools, and it should be easy to find this writing. And she is a Black lesbian activist, and she talks about like you cannot beat the master by using his tools. You cannot impress him with oppressive tools.
You can't do it. You can't do it. Can't do it. Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. And side note, I talk about that in my work because I just think it's so important. And I also like really see just on a sort of meta level, like people all over the world are planting the seeds for a new way of being on this earth. And we don't even really know what it is we're stepping into because we're in the process of creating it. And it's very exciting for me. And I just like feel so excited to be with you on this. Okay, let's talk more about the course. There's only 6 spots left.
There's 6 spots left. And the reason for that is this course there's 2 sessions I'm teaching, one morning, one afternoon. And the reason I'm doing that, the reason I'm limiting the number is because this is a course in which I want a smaller amount of people so that you can ask the questions and that there's time for me to answer them and for us to explore them.
Okay.
So at this point, we're like, we start on Sunday, so we're like 4 days away. And so I decided like I'm going to just kind of have that cut off, because I want to keep sort of that sacred space of being able to have those exchanges.
And then how many sessions is the course? Like what can people... Three sessions. So 3 Sundays.
So every Sunday.
Yeah. And how long? Sorry.
Every Sunday, we start this Sunday, 3 Sundays in a row. And each session is 90 minutes. So I'll teach for about 50 to 60 minutes, and then we'll discuss, I'll answer questions. And look, I have people who are like, yeah, I can come, but I can only come to 1 out of 2 or 2 out of 2, or I can only kind of have sessions. Or I have people who are international it's just not in their time zone.
Right.
And so know that even if you can't make it to the live sessions, you can come. You'll always get access to the recordings, and there are several ways to ask questions per set. So I'll be asking, like, if you were not able to ask your question, do send in your questions, so that whatever you have that you want to sort of like, for it to be covered, it still will be customized to you. It still will be covered within the session.
That's really generous. I love that.
Yes, it is. It's
a lot of work for you. As a coach, I'm like,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I totally spoke over you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All I said was, as a coach, I know how generous that answer is, because it does take a lot of time and emotional labor. So thank you.
It's a lot of time and emotional labor. And I try to make these things accessible. When we're talking about anti-racism, I try to make this work from anywhere from my free work to a class like this, to private work. I try to make it as accessible as possible, so that people get the most out of it they possibly can, because it's important that this work spreads to as many people as possible.
Yeah. I could not agree more. Thank you. I love that so much. I personally am so excited for this class.
I just want to say something about Melissa found the quote from Audre Lorde. She says, "For the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. They may allow us to temporarily beat him at his own game, but they will never enable us to bring about genuine change. Racism and homophobia are real conditions of our lives in this place and time. I urge each one of us here to reach down in that deep place of knowledge inside herself and touch that terror and loathing of any difference that lives here. See whose face it wears. Then the personal." Okay, so then it goes on, right? So that's...
Yeah, I love that quote so much.
Yes.
And I could have another long conversation with you about that, by the way, because I think it's really fascinating and true. And I'm not going to get into that conversation right now, because that's not what we're talking about.
I want to something that you said early. 2 things you said. You'd said something about lighting that fire within, and then you said something about planting seeds. And I love that imagery. And I want to, especially to the population of people who sort of, I know I have a lot of followers, and I'm sure you do, because you have the Sacred Feminine group, and you definitely have that sort of spiritual charge to you in the way you talk. There's a lot of people in this course, Moms and Race. We will be diving into nature, right? And how nature can be a tool for you. That is part of it.
Awesome.
I also want to say that planting seeds, this is where kids come in, right?
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
This is where, we cannot depend on our educational systems to create people who are going to naturally dismantle racism or white supremacism.
Our education system in general is part of the patriarchy and patriarchal way and speaking of the master tools, unintentionally, but it is.
Well,
maybe intentionally in some places, I think. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry. I'm just thinking of my son's school.
I'd say there's layers.
I think there's
intentionally,
layers.
But if your intentions are powerful, then unintentionally, other things will follow in step.
Yes. I love that. Sorry. I just took that in. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
So when we're talking about like anti-racism and dismantling racism, white supremacism, even if we all did the work, whatever the work is for us, right?
Right.
If we never showed our kids, if we never made it clear in our home spaces and our care spaces, because there's community leaders in this course that we're about to go through that don't have kids that are community leaders. If we are not clearly talking about it, showing how to do it, inspiring each other through communities and our kids, then they are unconsciously perpetuating white supremacism, racism. Yeah. Why? Because racism and white supremacism are rooted and they grow.
Yes.
They're an entity. They're a nasty, brilliant beast.
Yeah.
Ignoring it, non-engagement with it within ourselves, in our communities, and our families is supporting its growth. That's why it has to be actively dismantled. That's why with kids, the seeds that we have planted for the new world, kids are literally seeds we're planting for the new world. Mm-hmm. We have to engage with them on it. It's not enough for us to do the work just for ourselves over here. They have to be a part of it too, in some way.
How old do you think a child can be before we start talking about anti-racism with them?
That's a really interesting question because, a kid of color, right? So I'll tell you, the first time I was insulted and assaulted because of the color of my skin, I was 4. Okay. And now imagine that. 4.
No, I can't.
Where's a kid cognitively at 4, right? And there's all sorts of books and writings and studies about how because of epigenetics, because of ancestral trauma.
Yes.
Feeling within the mother's womb that it happens even younger. Yeah. So for the people who are white who are listening to this, know that you're in a privileged and your kids are in a privileged spot where you could maybe never talk about it or address it. You could maybe a kid could go maybe their whole lives without, they could maybe go their whole lives without really.
Right. Like I don't have to talk to my son about like what to do if he gets pulled over by a cop.
Exactly. And that is like part of, I can personally speak that this is part of Black culture. Like this is just something that happens. I remember when my parents had the talk with my brother, right? Yeah. So it is a personal, I can't say it's this age. It is a personal choice for each family. But a lot of what we'll talk about in this course is the tools that parents can use to start this as early as kids can understand their own emotions. Now, what does it look like? It doesn't look like you showing your kid at 3 years old. It doesn't look like showing roots to your kid who's at 3 years old. It doesn't mean you have to tell your kid about genocide and death when they're 5. That's not what I'm talking about. There's other ways to start engaging with your kids about this stuff. And again, you're going to tap into your own wisdom so you know how to do this better for yourself and what makes sense for your family. And, you might have a kid who's neurodivergent. You might have a kid who has other things they have to deal with that's like abusive things or like things that are causing them their own terrors. Mm-hmm. And so that's why there's like no blanket, like you have to do this, this, and this. I'll give tools and I'll give conceptual perceptions. No, that's right. I'll give conceptual open doors and everything so that it becomes clearer to you. But ultimately that what you do and the tools you use, they're going to be so locked in with what what's coming through the wisdom, you'll know how to do it and be confident in doing it. That's part of why this course exists.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I may have to walk with you because somebody's ringing my doorbell. Sorry. Let's just do that while I talk.
Okay. So yeah, I personally think, for those people out there who like to have general answers to that, you can start as young as 3, because really 3 is when kids start being able to, and this is something that I studied when I was working Waldorf preschool and credits, and when I was getting some ECE credits, and I was also I worked in theater and did a lot of theater. Like theater is awesome because it's like storytelling is very healing for kids, right? Mm-hmm. So at about the age 3 is when kids start we've all been through being with teenagers. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
they are starting to process and starting to be able to communicate emotions. They're starting to be able to put words to emotions. They're just opening the door to understanding the differences between like I'm frustrated and I'm tired. They're just starting to like find more specificity on all of the feeling and emotional vibrations inside them. When they're 4, they start being able to like really communicate these things into sentences, and when they're 5, they take more responsibility for those things, right? That's general. This is the general.
Right. Understood. Yeah.
Right. Also, what starts happening at 3 is their scribbles, their artwork. It starts to form into shapes that they are perceiving. So instead of like the energy, the colors that kind of, this is the sky, so this is blue, but it overlaps with a house that's kind of like pinkish red, right? It starts being like the lines. They start labeling things in their artwork. So you start seeing the lines, you start seeing faces, so they're starting to apply labels. They're starting to apply like structures. They're starting to see how this is separate from this, right? Kids come into the world with all this is one and all of it's mine.
Yeah.
That's a child, right? That's a small child, but they're starting to see the divisions, right? And so as young as 3 is the best time to start, but it doesn't mean all is lost if you haven't started at 3.
Yeah. A lot of us, for a lot of people, this conversation didn't start until 2020, right? As adults. So we can start at any time, but let's start with our kids for sure now, because I think what parent doesn't, I don't know, maybe there are parents but I know most parents think, I want a better world for my child.
Yeah.
And for me, a better world is a just world. And one of my teachers, Kelly Deals, always says, none of us were born into a just world, white people included. This is not a just world. And so like, can we, through our work, create that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, for white people, one of the things that white supremacism and racism has given you is like attachment to guilt and shame.
Yeah.
And, I got to say, that is just something that if you're looking at this stuff, you're just going to feel it. I mean, I don't know how you could look at this stuff and not feel it. To feel guilt and shame and embarrassment, humiliation, all of us.
Sure. Yeah.
But the thing that I think gives people relief is that if you can work through that, and I wish we had more time to work on that deeply in this. That's something I work deeply in the anti-racism journey, which is like my root core course about all this.
Okay.
If you can allow that to not be the driver, right? You're going to feel it. We're not going to ignore feelings. Okay. But if you can allow that to like that be in a passenger seat, there is relief in the fact that your privilege is something that actually can be used to the advantage of all. Right? Yes, white privilege sucks for a lot of us unless somebody is actually using it for the advancement of all. And that's like a very feminine thing. It does not mean that men can't do it. I'm just saying it's a very feminine thing to be able to transmute energy. It's a very feminine thing to be able to say like this thing that the world is saying is a bad thing. It's to like grasp it and say like, this is how I'm going to use it. That's a very feminine, like
archetypal feminine energy.
It's an archetypal feminine energy.
That's how I would say it anyway. Yeah.
Thank you for that word. Thank you for that phrasing. Yes.
Yeah, because we all have that in us, no matter what our gender, non-binary, female, male, however we identify, we have that energy in us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
What an interesting thing. What an interesting synchronicity that we're in a time of feminine rising and feminine awakening. And this is a way to turn white privilege around on its head.
It is no accident. It is no accident. It is no accident. It's interesting because I have to say this. So I have a friend, Gangotri. Hi, Gangotri. And we were talking.
I know her.
You know Gangotri? Oh my God.
Yeah, we were just on a panel together like in November. She's awesome.
She's amazing. Oh my God,
Yes.
I love that you know her. So
Yeah.
we one morning we were having a conversation about the patriarchy, and she said something that just like always sticks with me, which is European patriarchy. And there's patriarchy all over the world, but I can only really talk about our Western European patriarchy that we have going on here. She's like, it's binary. It's binary in its very nature. Everything is binary. Us starts with us, them, good, bad, black, white. There's no gray, right? Male, female, right? And so like everything gets thrown, like people get freaked out if it's not binary, if it's not male, female, like what the, right? There's that freak out because everything in our culture is this binary structure. And I'm just geeking out a little bit on that right now. But it's like, but that's a masculine thing. So masculine archetype, again, not bad in and of itself, right?
Yes.
But anyway, I'm just thinking of the feminine coming up, which the feminine is about connection and nurturing and just creating connection and understanding. So I think we're living through a really exciting time where just so much is bubbling up that is just ready to take root. So
yes, and I think one of the ways that this plays out that causes fear and makes so people want to move forward is, and I see this a lot because there's a lot of people who might be ignited about wanting to do so, wanting to be ally or whatever, and then especially on social media, they might get into a conversation, and then somebody's like, "You're racist. That's racist, right?" And then of course, like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. All the reasons I'm not, or freaking out, or fighting, or defense, or I've seen a lot of people get into that.
And then there's
right. And so as to what you're saying about the binary, that, quoting Gangotri and exploring like that concept that she's saying, is that oftentimes, even with educators and racism, it's like, if you say this, you're racist.
Right.
You can't not be racist. And then people start to internalize that.
Right.
And say like, they think the only thing they can think about me is I'm racist because I had this one thought, or because I didn't know this thing, I'm racist. When what can be the other thing that can be true, it doesn't have to be that you are racist or you're not. The thing that can be true is I'm infected with the disease of racism. The thing that can be true is like, maybe in that moment I said something racist and had a racist thought, but I also at the same time want to be an ally. And I also sometimes want to run away from this. And I also feel like it is my duty and my focus to do something about all of those things. Be true, but because of the binary system that we're in, we get into these exchanges, we get into some point of like activation, and people start to feel like I have to be this or this, and it's just not that black and white.
Yes, it isn't. And I love that. And like, even on the, like, and you just, kind of inspired a thought of me, which is like, even, as we learn, this is something like, not to judge others. As we learn that as people that are growing up, a lot of us maybe heard that message, and then getting really clear, well, we do judge others.
Yes.
So it's not judging, because we're gonna judge. It's like, then is, what's your next thought? Hey girl, check yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's, so it's not, so yeah. So we and I think I said this offline, like humans are messy. We're messy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's the ability to check ourselves, the ability to say, I notice what I'm doing. That is not who I want to be. I'm making a choice to be somebody different. I can learn, I can grow, whatever that internal dialogue is. Anyway.
And it's never too late to do that.
It's never too late to do that.
It's never too late to do that.
Yeah.
And look, don't have an expectation where like the person that you might have insulted a month later, if you come back and say, I've learned something now, don't have an expectation that they're going to be like, great, I'll embrace you now. It's not about them. It's about you and your growth, right?
Yeah.
It's never too late to be like, oh, that was a mistake. I see now. And that's happened to me. Like, look, I put this work out there. I actually just made a post a few days ago. I put a lot of this. I've been talking about this for years, but especially in the last year, I've been talking about it a lot. And because of that, I attract a lot of people who really want to do the work and a lot of people who want to dig deep and all of that, right? But I also attract a lot of people who are triggered, a lot of people who want to put me in place, a lot of nastiness. And I tend to delete it, get off my page as much as fast as possible, block, whatever, whatever. But I do have people who will come back months later and be like, oh, now I see why this isn't appropriate. Oh, and I'm like, great, keep going. It's at this point, like, I'm not interested in sort of like the apology to me, like, and that's me as an educator in this position. Like, if it's your close friend or something, like, that's a whole nother navigation.
Totally different dynamic. Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make here is just that this is your work for you. It's not just, I don't totally love this idea of like anti-racism work is completely selfless work. My being ally is completely selfless work, because sometimes for some people, for a lot of people, it puts them in this position of thinking like it's for Black people, it's for Hispanic people, it's for this other marginalized community over here. It's for, where really, if we can get the self-interest of our spirit and understand why it's healing for ourselves, for each individual, then it's like, it's my work for me, for my healing.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility I'm taking to make a world a better place with a focus on helping marginalized communities, but ultimately it's about me.
Right. Because and we hear people say this, I totally love this, Alexandra. Okay. We hear people say, like, all of us are harmed by racism, by systemic racism. And what I know to be true, is some people don't understand how I, as a white person, am harmed by racism. Don't I benefit? Like, I'm sorry to say that's a messed up thing, but I know that's like, it's hard for people to be like, what do you mean? All of us are harmed by that. It's sort of like I say, men are harmed by the patriarchy as well. And that's like, what do you mean? I don't know how I'm harmed. Yeah. So it's like this interesting, but we are, right? We all, anyway,
yes. These are layers. It's like this infinite thing going on, right? Like there are layers to this. Like, and even in this conversation, there are people who are going to pick one thing out of this conversation, but maybe not understand the full spectrum of what we're talking about. Right. And that's part of the journey, is understanding the full spectrum of how this is about them, but it's actually about you, but it's actually about them, but it's actually about you.
Right. We have to be willing to be complicated.
About you. Yeah. And it is supposed to be about you, but in this conversation, you made it about you in the way that you're not supposed to make it about you. It's actually about them, right? So that's why we have to continue our education. That's why we have to continue understanding these layers and nuances so that we can navigate confidently. You will navigate confidently when you're connected in with the wisdom of your spirit.
Amen. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so excited for your class. So excited. Thank you for creating this. Thank you for taking the time to be with me today. Yes. I'm so appreciative of you and your time. And I can't wait to talk to you more and again, because I just feel like there's so much richness here. So I really also appreciate that. And I feel like, please, moms out there that I know, please join me in this class, because it's going to be really, really good. And I want all the women around me, I want to be able to have this conversation with you in a deeper way. So that's my request to you mamas out there.
Thank you. I really appreciate you creating this space, Elijah. I see Blue Russ. Hello. Thank you.
Hi, Blue.
Responsibility in my growth. Thank you for being here. I want to say also, Elijah, and to anybody who's watching this, I really appreciate you making this time in this space, because getting this work out, the likes, the shares, the tags, the letting people know about this course is really challenging. It's really challenging. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I've taught about love and relationships, spirituality and ancestry and all of that. That work is a little easier to spread. This work, because of all the emotions around it, and because of all the, look, we're talking about race and white supremacism, talking about what we do we're talking about children. All this is just divisive, like especially the race and the white supremacy. It is just divisive in the material of what it is. And so I really appreciate you making the time, sharing this into your groups. Anybody who's sharing or liking or tagging, I really appreciate you helping me get the word out about this, because it is very challenging to get it out there. So I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. So interesting to hear. I didn't know that. I'm like happy to share this. I'm excited to share this. And happy to share anything in the future too. And I hear you and I understand, as you explained it, I understand why. Yeah, I had not considered that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. All right. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you on Sunday.
Yes, yes. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll hopefully see you on Sunday.
Yeah, hopefully see you on Sunday. Yay! Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.